There's hiking, there's, skydiving. Do you like culture? There's tons of museums and art galleries and things to go to. It's like, what are you interested in? There'll be something here for you. Hi, I'm Sarah Forster, editor here at The National, and welcome to this week's edition of A Closer Look. Now, as we make our way through the summer, more and more people are going to be moving here for the first time as people relocate their lives here to coincide with the start of the school year, the start of the winter period, and it means that a lot of people are going to be needing to know whatever you need to know when you first move here. So that's why I've brought in our reporter, Ramola Talwar Badam. Ramola, thank you so much for joining us. So now, this is obviously a huge topic, right? We both know what it was like to first move to the UAE. It can be daunting moving anywhere for the first time. So let's try and boil it down. So what would you say are the top 5 things you need to know when you move to the UAE?
I think one of the first things that you should remember before you leave your home country is the documents you need to have ready. Whether you're coming on your own job or you're coming with a spouse or someone in your family, it's good to have things like your education certificate. That's either your bachelor's or your master's. Those certificates attested and certified in your home country. Things like
birth
your
certificates, marriage certificates.
Yes,
right, yeah.
all those as well. You can do it when you're in the UAE, but that obviously will require a cost and you'll have to go through an agent. So it's probably best you do it, finish all those formalities before you come here. What would be the next one? Yeah, where are you planning to work? That will decide where you're planning to live. So which of the Emirates would you make your home? It's probably better to come here, test out the waters if you can before, see the place and then decide where you're going to stay. Which school, if you have kids, which school is your child going to go to? There are a whole lot of curriculum here that you can choose from, the IB, the British curriculum, the American curriculum, Indian, Chinese schools as well.
Swiss as well, isn't there? There's lots of choice.
Yeah, French. So, I mean, which school, and the wait lists are pretty long as well sometimes. So, which school do you want to go to? So, decisions like also, are you going to stay close to your workplace? Are you going to stay near the school? That would come into consideration as well. Then things like driver's licenses. We've had colleagues, we've had friends, Sarah, who've not taken driver's licenses immediately. They've managed with, either the taxi or the metro. But it's good probably to get your license in, finish the whatever tests you need to do. It depends on which country you come from, because some countries you can just transfer your driver's license and just start driving here immediately. So I don't know whether I've covered 4 or 5.
It's enough, it's enough. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I know I have a friend in Dubai who's been here 8-9 years, never had a car, just uses taxis and metro to get around and has been perfectly happy doing it that way. So yeah, it really depends on where you're going to live and everything like that. So what would you say are important things that people need to watch out for when they come out here so they don't accidentally end up making more work for themselves?
Yeah, another thing that they need to do is definitely, of course they'll have to open up a bank account. For that, I think you'd need a local number. You need your Emirates ID. So another thing to make absolutely sure is that, have you got the right visa when you come here? Do you have your work visa? If you're sponsoring a relative, do you have the minimum salary requirement? It's usually 3,000 or 4,000. But if you're a woman, depending on the Emirate that you're living in, the regulations vary. So it could be 4,000, it could be 10,000 that you need to earn as your salary to sponsor a child or a spouse. So those are the things you need to keep in mind. Also with rents spiraling everywhere in the world, including here, that's one thing you need to keep in mind, because you'd have to, apart from the rent, which could be anything from 50,000, 60,000 on the lower end for a studio, and it could go up to 300,000 or more. The schools, which school would you be putting your child in? We've done stories here, several of our colleagues have done stories here about how you can get a good private school for under 30,000 dirhams, but usually schools are much over that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's, if you're watching this thinking, this is so much information to take in, we know, and that's why all of these topics literally have their own article on our website. So if you just go on there and search, you'll find it, you'll find all the information. But obviously it is a huge topic. But there are definitely schools rated outstanding by the school regulators here, which are not super expensive. So you do not have to spend a fortune on schools just because, you know, everyone else is.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about money. Cost of living, it's going up everywhere, right? What about the cost of living in the UAE?
So the interesting thing is that the UAE just made the number 2 spot just after Australia and before Singapore, I think, of the high net individuals, the most amount of new millionaires that will be in any country this year. So with the UAE, I think the number was 4,500, if I'm not mistaken. I'll, you know, they can check it up on
You're
the
not
story
one of
that
them?
I wish. So, so it's not as if, you know, only the super wealthy move here. There could be, when you go to a supermarket, you might find the occasional Rolls Royce parked there, but it depends on the supermarket you're shopping at.
Shop somewhere else.
Yeah. So, I mean, but you do find people who are careful. I mean, most people are careful about where they shop, which supermarket they shop, which day they go to the supermarket, what deals are available. So you can, you know, keep an eye on the budget by taking care of those things.
It is absolutely possible to not spend a fortune on food and things like that, which can spiral out of control if you're not careful. And so finally, one of the main reasons people move to the UAE is because it's quite a fun place to live. There is a lot to do here. Let's talk about the fun stuff.
So what is it that they move here for? The sun, right? The sun, the beach, but there are also cycling tracks here. I think 700 kilometers is what Dubai plans to do by 2025 or 2026. You know as well that the whole of, if you're not from the UAE, then you won't know about this road called Sheikh Zayed Road, which is a main arterial highway that moves across Dubai and reaches Abu Dhabi. That's generally shut down when you have cycle races or run marathons. Yeah. So there are a few cities in the world where that's actually done. And also Abu Dhabi has the Yas Marina circuit where you can cycle for free. And you're using the same track that the Formula Ones use. So there's trekking, there's a lot of mountaineering that you can do over the weekends, during the week, in places like Ras Al Khaimah, which is another emirate. So there's a lot of you know, golf, tennis, paddle tennis.
Do you know, I always say this to people when they say to me like, oh, because, you know, maybe speaking specifically about Dubai, they're like, oh, Dubai, isn't it just malls and malls? And I'm like, no. Like, what do you like doing? Are you active? There's tons of water sports, there's hiking, there's, you know, skydiving. Do you like culture? There's tons of museums and art galleries and things to go to. You know, it's like, what are you interested in? There'll be something here for you. If you have no imagination, then you end up just going to the mall every weekend, don't you? But
and one other thing that all of us usually talk about is that you end up, you know, you think you're coming here for 2 years, 3 years, and then you end up more than 10 years sometimes, or much more. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well.
That is a good final piece of advice from Ramola there. Don't think you're going to be leaving when you think you're going to be leaving. All right, thank you so much for coming in, Ramola. Well, that's it for another edition of A Closer Look, brought to you from right here inside the National's newsroom. Remember, you can find all of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel, and if you have any suggestions for a future episode, you can always leave your comment in the box below.